My name's Ange Hardy and I come from Somerset. I'm a singer-songwriter and folk musician.
So I'm Richard Holt. I'm the Director of Creative Innovation Centre, CIC, Taunton.
My name's Emmett. Got into photography when my mum passed away.
Right, my name is Phillipa Reid and I'm a quilling artist.
I'm David Richmond and I do walks mostly, walks in creative development.
My name's Alan Beck and I'm the founder of The Whip and reality check consultancy.
Okay. So I'm Jenny Keogh. I'm an artist, primarily painting, but I also organise creative events in and around Taunton.
I'm Liz Hutchin. More recently taken on actually organising the festival alongside Jenny. But I have my own little business that runs alongside called Busy Lizzie Art, and I go into schools through Busy Lizzie Art to do lots of work with teachers and the children, but I also paint and do murals and all sorts of crazy things.
I think that the best stories are simple, and therefore the whip is special in the sense that it's really, really simple. We're going to talk to each other in numbers, and those numbers have symbols which cause people to have feelings and emotions, and they allow people to connect with each other without really going into great long descriptions. So I think that is fundamentally a good story.
Writing is an incredibly powerful media. I think a really good example would be a song that I wrote for my daughter who has ASD, so ADHD and Asperger's and all sorts of different labels put against her. And I came to the conclusion that actually I needed to learn to get to know her for who she is. And this father had taken from my song the fact that his son was incredible and beautiful no matter what. And the song really moved him, which was a really powerful thing to happen, I think.
6 years ago when we opened the centre, it was primarily in response to that continuous ambition to improve the profile of the arts and what it brings, the benefits that it brings to the community, and thought rather than go around to everybody else's centre and continue my story, I'd have my own space where I could create my own stories and people come to me. And that also involves introducing new work to the general public and inspiring people to do new things and really get involved with their community on a creative basis.
I look completely different aspect of angles and stuff like that than normal photographers. And it's capturing time, it's capturing moments. It's sort of freezing certain times of it and sort of special times and memories.
I wouldn't say it's more powerful, it's different. I mean, it's perhaps a little more subtle in the sense of conveying an actual story. Obviously, if you're making a film or writing a book or perhaps even drawing a cartoon with speech bubbles, you can be very, very direct in the message of the story that you're trying to put across. You're telling and quilling on 3 different levels, really. The first one, which really appeals to me, is that because it's an ancient art, I feel as though I'm continuing the story of quilling as a historical art, but bringing it into the 21st century. I think there's another level too, in that the shapes that we create with our paper strips are very fluid, and if you think of a story as being something with a beginning, a middle and an end, I like to start with shapes and then let the story evolve quite naturally. there's perhaps a third aspect which I think is quite interesting. Because we work with paper strips which are set on edge, it creates a depth to the visual picture that you're creating, and it's actually something that can be touched through the fingers. So it perhaps conveys something of a story or a message to people who are partially...
I think walking's a really powerful thing. I've spent my life really supporting people, trying to find different ways that I can support people and work out what the best way is of supporting people.
I think that all the different art genres are all, they're all equally as important. But you bring them all together and something really magical can happen. You have collaborations, you have magical experiences where you get poets, creating poems from a painting, inspired by a photograph, inspired by sculpture. It's perhaps performed with a dance.
I think that's it. I think it is such an incredibly powerful event, because we do sort of cover everything.
A lot of my songs can be personal and can take from everyday life and document things that are going on, such as I've written songs that are about the budget issues, political songs. So people relate personally to those, or ones about family and situations. And then there's the storytelling that I do that is very much mythical folklore, and those stories take you on a journey. And most importantly, before you even look at the story itself, you're putting people into a landscape. So when you're listening to that, you're there, you're in this new place. It's a breakaway. It's like reading a book.
99.9% of the people that come in and go out are coming in very surprised at what they find. Very exciting, inspiring space, exciting programming. And they go out the door saying they want to come back. But I think by the time they've been here, experienced our positive outlook on things, people tend to learn about the potential and the opportunities that exist through looking at things in a slightly different way.
A lot of times when I put photos up, people see things that I don't see, so it kind of opens up that whole kind of thing. I see a lot of things different than other people and other photographers. So.
I think the interpretations are as individual as the individual people who are looking at the piece. The whole essence of creativity really is that you're making something new which might perhaps bring out a creative reaction in other people.
How people respond is the best bit, absolutely, because most people just love it. They just think it's a beautiful object, they think it's a great idea. They come to me telling me what numbers they are and what those numbers mean, and I've done nothing to create that. So just the fact that they're so enthusiastic and they can connect and understand it without me explaining it is beautiful. Everybody is different, and I think that's what the badge would celebrate. In a group of people, they would all be different. Even if they're the same number, those numbers would mean different things for different reasons, and I think that's beautiful too.
We had a lady who had come along to make something out of clay.
Yes.
And she had it in pride of place on her mantelpiece, and it was the most exciting thing she'd done all year. And she was talking about it a year later. It really does touch lives. It's about creating the space for everybody to have their own creative identity, isn't it?
And their individual
that.
visions within it. And I think that again is a beauty of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get very, very positive responses. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it, I suppose. I think again, it's that thing. I think it's very difficult to know how you can help other people, support other people. I think actually, at the end of the day, the best thing you can do, for me, I think, or certainly the most authentic thing you can do, is just walk alongside people. You can't do things for people or to people. That doesn't make any sense. That creates more dependency than capability. So a walk is a way of enabling people to be kind of at peace with who they are and connect with who we are.
I think music itself has to stem, before you start thinking of it as a career, it has to stem from yourself, from you. You have to enjoy it as a hobby. But I've always said writing's a little bit like digging for treasure. So you know the treasure's there, you're just trying to find it, and as you dig, little bits of the story are revealed and eventually you find the whole story. So it's there, you just have to look for it. And a good way to get into that is to, rather than just digging randomly, is to figure out where you're going to dig. So figure out a theme, a storyline, something you want to write about, and research it. And then just chip away at it. It's really interesting you should say that. I think not all songs have a storyline, but I think all songs have a story to tell, whether the story is the inspiration behind the song being written in the first place. And if it's not personal, then it could well be that the thing that's made them write that song is the need to write a song that succeeds. Well, why do they feel the need to succeed? So there's always a story.
And if you go around Bristol, there are quite a lot of multi-arts type centres, and I think in large they're funded locally by their councils, whereas we've bucked the trend in the last 6 years. We stand on our own 2 feet, but I think you have to have ambition, you've got to take risks, and have the vision, and have that tenacity really to do it.
At the end of the day, it's your eye that's capturing the moment, not the camera, and you need to just, if you see something, click it, because you'll go back over like 10 images and you'll see something that you missed and you'll be like, wow, that's a shot there. I mean, sunrises and sunsets, you can go and stand on the same spot every day and it's completely different, and it just blows you away each time, It's that kind of thing. Same with fashion. Every location I shoot on is just completely different. So I guess it's in my edits really. Everybody keeps saying to me that my edits are completely different than other people. I think that's your own stamp. It kind of captures everything in the shot.
I think some media make it easier than others. There's no doubt that if you're very definite about the message that you want to put across, probably the written word or speaking to a camera or even drawing a cartoon would be the most surefire way of getting the message across. I love working with children because I think they're less inhibited and they don't have such a fear of failure as perhaps adults do. But even very nervous adults, they might often start off not believing that they're going to be able to do it. And when I've showed them the simplicity of the basics, they've surprised themselves, and that is just so satisfying when they find that they can do it and produce something with a real wow factor. I wouldn't say I'm deliberately trying to evoke emotion, other than to get people to appreciate a sense of beauty and harmony in the way the shapes go together.
That's a really good question, and I almost want to say I don't know, because this whip came out of a dream. So as far as I was aware, there was no conscious effort, no decision making. I saw it, I was shown it with absolute clarity, and I just felt compelled to get on and do it. And this is somebody who was chronically ill at the time. So I think if you have those conditions, that you're just compelled to do something without much reason. For other people, I think our situations and our experiences are unique, and therefore all stories will have a unique aspect to it. Yes, I mean, the Wib's highly emotional, and this is a monitor displaying your emotional state, very emotional, and I think if we're listening carefully to people's stories, then there's an emotional thread there that's driving their behaviour and driving our responses.
I think that the exciting thing is that people can, I think artists, if they feel strongly about something, they should just get up and do it and organise it. And I guess the great thing about Go Create is that we seek, encourage and promote creativity throughout.
I think as well, there is quite a lot of funding available if people know how to access it. And I think that needs to be made perhaps more, people need to be made more aware of that. You do have to have almost like a reason for doing it. You think about sort of carnival time in Brazil, you think about that the Edinburgh Festival that grew out of, it was originally sort of very highbrow and the fringe developed, and then we've got all of sort of the comedy, the arts and things. I think they've all had their own sort of beginnings. So certainly last year's Taunton Night was very much about sort of, celebrating the diversity of culture. So really fostering understanding and enjoyment and pleasure that you can get from learning from different cultures.
Yeah.
I mean, the incredibly fun time we had, sort of Indian dancing, Bhangra and Bollywood dancing and so on. I mean, it was just amazing, and that was, it was fun, but it was also a deeper understanding of the culture and where the dance came from and so on.
We're sitting here now, you can notice the sun shining through the trees and the wind blowing towards me, and all sorts of things are happening. I'm being bombarded with all these impressions. But we actually notice a lot less of that. That's happening all the time. We notice much less than we can see. So all of those walks are built up of moments, and that's, I think, the core for me is that's appreciating the moment of being alive, this moment, right? And understanding how we put those together to create our own narrative or story, which for an individual might be our understanding our identity as well as organisation. What's our organisational story? Who are we as a team? Or who are we as a community?
Folk music has lasted the generations. It's traditional music, and it has continued to be carried through the generations for the fact that it does appeal and does continue to be relevant, because it's normally storytelling and it's normally based on life. So it keeps just bubbling away in the background, and every now and then you have a revival. And at the moment for folk music, I think we are in the beginnings of a new revival, definitely. But music, it twists and it turns, but the bass thread is always there. You've always just got the same number of notes, so it's always going to have a common thread. I think there is music yet to be discovered. I think people think that perhaps all the songs have been done, all the tunes have been done, and you can't do anything new, and I don't think that's true. I think where there's creativity, there's always something to be discovered. There's nothing to say that there won't be someone in the future that will come up with a revolutionary new instrument that will just change the playing field. But we actually, in folk music, sell a lot more hard copies of the album through online sales than we do digital copies. But that is a niche market thing. I think in the pop market, in the broad market, MP3 singles is the way forward.
The transition that the arts have taken over the last, say, 10 years. So funding has been dramatically reduced in the UK for the arts. And as a result, artists need to find new ways in which to sustain their activities, look at how they can collaborate, how they can work together to continue their work, and how do we go forward. I think what we hope to do here really is provide a vision of a can-do, let's work together in order to improve our communities. I think sending out a positive message is really the key.
It's changed a lot. I've been doing it for 10 years, and I've seen a lot of changes in it. I mean, obviously people are using phones now, which I don't agree with. That's just point and shoot, cheating. Strictly manual, self-taught. So yeah, in 10 years I've seen a lot of change, a lot of up-and-coming photographers, which is great, a lot of young kids doing it. And they always email me and ask for advice, and they come out and shoot with me, and I'm giving them all the angles and helping them with the edits and telling them what to shoot and how to shoot, really, not to go for the mundane shots, basically, kick it up a gear.
Monastic communities in the 16th and 17th centuries, where they used paper filigree to decorate holy pictures, reliquaries, book covers and picture frames, and what they tended to do was very, very intricate. As we've moved forward into the 20th and 21st centuries, people are still using the same techniques, but the more modern style, I think, is perhaps a little more simple. And these days, the quilling community, it's men and women of all ages. But I think we're seeing a definite trend towards, say, working with items, recycling items, instead of throwing something away, making something creative out of it. And some people even cut their own quilling strips, or use strips that have been made in an office shredder. There's so many different ways in which you can apply the techniques and the ideas that I'm sure that quilling will evolve, and so will other art forms too.
We were once indigenous people, very connected to nature, and we would communicate the fundamental importance of our survival. That's the basics. Today is far more complicated in the sense we have technology, we can access our social media and tell quite trivial stories. You know, I'm eating a panini now, you know, isn't an exciting story. But it can be. I think just about anything can happen. I think that there's always going to be new ideas, but these are, I think, the best ones for me will always be the ones that bring us back to being human, bring us back to being connected.
We're hoping that Taunton Live will, make people see how important the arts are.
Because, you know, when you consider how important engaging in the arts for people's just the ability to express and so on, and you certainly consider so many mental health issues and so on, I think how the arts could actually contribute so much more.
It's about everyone pulling together and really getting the word out there.
If there's an industry, it's around development. We all are in development, actually. People are open to something new, open to the possibility, open to question, open to other people. Then the more exciting and vibrant life can be. Yeah, I think absolutely people, there are massively, you know, there's Nordic walking, I think all sorts of different kinds of walks that are going on. And that's, for me, I'm not trying to impose my practice upon anyone. When I walk, I help. It's because we all walk. There is a robustness to what I do. There is a theory and a philosophy behind what I do, but it's a very basic philosophy that says about how important it is to be who we are.
Music for me is all about storytelling. It's very similar to a lot of the other arts in as much as you are creating a foreground and a background and taking people on a journey, relating to people, inspiring people. It's just the most incredible experience and an amazing gift. And daily I get messages from people who have been moved by my music, and that's just beyond anything you could wish for. You know, I think all you really want in life is to make a mark, really, isn't it?
Like the poetry, it's about understanding other people's points of view. You know, everybody's got a story to tell, and I think, you know, if we can provide the platform and the spaces to be able to do that, then I think the world's a richer place.
Photography for me is like a freedom of me just expressing everything from what I do and what I see, really. You know, I'll go out with the camera and I'll click something and it's just there, and it just brightens my day up, to be fair. Even on my days off when I'm not working, I'll be out with the camera doing something, you know.
I think it's always very satisfying if you succeed in communicating an idea that's in your head through art and realising that you've connected directly with someone. It's a partnership in a way between the creator and the viewer, and I like to be relaxed about it.
Everything's a story, and it keeps emerging. The emerging story of my life is, strangely enough, quite fascinating to me, but it sometimes feels like I'm making it up as I go along, and other times it feels like it was meant to be like this. I'm actually following out a blueprint of something I'm here to do, which is different. What happens, the situations I find myself in, the things around me that change how that feels and how I experience it.
I think so. Storytelling to me is like I said earlier, it's people coming together, people sharing their experiences, talking about their lives, using different mediums to express that.
I think inspiring the next generation, getting into schools and getting children, realising that, stories, stories can be told, but it is about how you respond, how you engage, and different modes of expression as well, so that they can tell their own individual stories through lots of different media too.
Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we've talked quite a lot on our book. Sometimes we get really stuck in a story track, and when we relate to each other, we tell lots of stories. And it's important to understand the stories that we tell about ourselves, we tell to ourselves and to others. What I hope a little bit with our books is maybe we break some of those down. They don't have to be constructed. We can be open to putting those stories together in new ways, in different ways, without having to be perhaps too precious about what it has to look like and what the end result can be like. For me, they're made of moments, and that's a joy.